Hello, welcome back to our tutorial section. So this is the part 2 of the OpenCV Tracker. So today we're going to use what we had developed in the last tutorial, that is the mouse tracking, that you obtain a portion from your screen that crop a region, and then we're going to use that region as a template and then to send it to the OpenCV Tracker in order to track that particular texture and then to identify the new position. So this is the thing we would like to do in this exercise. So again, we start with our video device in, and then we are going to get back something we have just developed in the last week. So that is the mouse pick and also the convert range component that we are going to use them again. So the first thing we're going to do will be the mouse pick. That one we're going to show you, for example, that is an output, and we can combine it with a composite of our own video input. So this is something that we have done in the last tutorial. Just quickly review and put the video under the mouse selection, and the other one will be a number, a sequence of number that we can determine whether we have select a region, and also the bounding box of that region we can use. So that is something we have done in the last part. So that is okay. So I can also remove it by clicking it again. So what we are going to do is to make use of this information, the pick, left, right, bottom and top, and then to find out how we can do the tracker. And the tracker one, the script as usual, I already written down and put it in a separate file that we can just copy and paste it into our script shop later. Okay, so to facilitate, I can also create an empty component and name it as OpenCV Tracker. And then with this component, I expect to get this one. So that will be an input chop, and then the output of this one will also be another chop, that is the output chop. We are going to send out and use the bounding box information to create the rectangle that highlight the tracked area. Okay, so this one will go to here. Once we have this one, there are two things we would like to separate. One is the bounding box information. We select the left, right, bottom and also top. And then the second one, we are going to select, of course there'll be just one more left is the pick. So the pick is indicating whether that is the selection of the bounding box and also resetting the bounding box. So in that case, I can further split it into two stages. One state is the rising edge and the other will be the falling edge, which indicate two things. One is the selection, and then the other is clicking the mouse again to deselect the rectangle, and then the rest will be this, that is the bounding box information. And I'm going to implement the tracker in script chop. Okay, and then the information will go to here, that is the bounding box information. And in order to do the tracking, I also need to have some image, and that image is actually my video device in. I can also downsample it to half the resolution such that it can perform a little bit more efficient. Then we can have half the resolution, and in that case, of course, you also need to send it to your OpenCV Tracker, and then that means we also need to have another input as a top, so that will be our video image. Okay, just rearrange them to make it less messy. Okay, so now we have this one, and then I put it into a node. I name it as input. And how I can connect it to here, because it's not possible directly to connect a top here. So in that case, I will make use of the custom page. So for this one, I'm going to remove these two of them and then put an custom one. As I mentioned, I already finished all the script around here. Just try to explain what we are going to do with this one. Okay, so those are the import. And the other thing a little bit more interesting is I need to keep track of the status of the tracking. So I use a state as an enum, that is enumerates package that you can define some kind of constant like variable that you can use them to identify the different stages in your tracking. So I identify 3 of them. One is the idle, that means nothing we need to do. There's no interaction starting yet. And then once you confirm a rectangle, that means you drag and then you release your button. So it start the tracking. It will move to the second state tracking. And when you are moving around with your successful tracking, so sometimes it will get lost. So once you lost, it go to the third stage, the state lost. That I will use another, for example, color of the rectangle to indicate you already lost your tracking. So that is 3 of them. So after you press the button again, that will go back to the idle. So that is the implementation. So the initial one is the idle, of course. And then tracker will be the OpenCV variable track to keep the tracker. Okay, and in the custom page, I have created input image, which is the top that you can drag your video there, and then there'll be two pause button. One is initialize, so that means when your status is changed from 0 to 1, so that is the rising edge, so initialize the tracker. And when you reset, that means your status changed from 1 to 0, that is the falling edge that will going to reset. So the detection of the button will be handled in the on pause function. So if the button name is init, so they're going to get your video image and then get the bounding box information from your input, and then calculate the left, top, and width and height of your bounding box, and then initialize the tracker. So this is the way that we create the tracker instance. So for further information, you can go back to the OpenCV documentation that I also include in Patreon. So this one is the one we use. So it comes from the legacy tracker. That there are plenty of them. I chose this one because it's a bit more efficient and accurate compared with the other. So that one is the legacy part, and for the more modern one, they also come with two tracker, but I found it's not that fast in terms of the performance, so that's I didn't use it in the tutorial. And for those who are into more contemporary approach by using machine learning model, so OpenCV also comes with an example tracker that demonstrates the use of these more recent approach of using the machine learning model for tracking, that I also included the link in the Patreon that you can refer to later. Okay, so the first button is to initialize the tracker, and then the second button is reset. So that means when you click the mouse and then to deselect everything, that you have that reselect to reset. And for every cook, when you are in the idle, that's idle state that nothing happened, you only report the bounding box that you are drawing on screen, or nothing if you are not drawing anything. And in case you are not idle, that means you will be in tracking status. So if you successfully track by using that update command of the tracker with the current image, if it is okay, so that tracking is successful, that I'll update the tracked bounding box such that you can draw the new location of your movement. So but just in case if it's not okay in the tracking, so that means usually you lost your object that you tracked. So I also update that one in the status as well. So in the end, I update all the channel. We come with 5 of them. The first one is the status, and the 4 other one is the left, right, bottom, and top of the bounding box. So that's all the script. I copy this one and then paste it here. Once you paste it there, you need to initialize the custom page and also the corresponding operator. So the first one is the input image, that is your video image, and in that case it will try to capture your image, And the second one will be your tracker status. So initialize for the rising edge one, you initialize here and drag the variable or the signal to the pulse. And for the reset, it's the same, that when you have the dropping edge or falling edge, so you reset the tracker. So that's everything we put it here at the moment. And then the output will be our tracking status. So that complete the CV tracker. Pretty straightforward and simple because I put all the script already around here. So let's do some testing. So the testing actually it's not visible yet because we haven't implemented visualization, but we can just take a look at those numbers. Let's see, I'm tracking or not. I do the tracking. So now the tracking state is 1. So this tracking is supposedly tracking my face, and those are the tracking information of the left, right, bottom, and top. So the other thing that we need to do is to convert these 4 numbers into something that I prepared in last week as well. That is the convert range component, and which going to give you the TXTY and also width and height that we can customize our rectangle. So for this one, we're going to select the left, right, bottom, and top. And send it to the convert range, and it will going to give you the TXTY and also with height of your track the face. And the other select that I need to use will be the state. The state we're going to use it for visualization. So if I click my mouse again, it will deselect. Yes, to keep it 0, and then the tracking will stop at this moment. Okay, what we would like to do at this moment is trying to do the visualization such that we see not only the original video image, but we try to overlay the box. So there will be 3 boxes that we're going to do. One is the drawing box that come with the outline, and then the second one is the tracking box. We use a semi-transparent constant material, and the third one will be the similar as the tracking box, but it's indicated as the lost tracking. So I also put a message over there as an indicator. So the box will actually is a rectangle in 3D, similar to what we have done in the last tutorial, and then I send it to a standard geometry component with the lighting and camera. So for the camera, so remember to change it to orthographic because we don't need the Z dimension at this moment. It's also in the center, but with the width of the window just 1 unit, and then that will go to rendered top. And then the other thing that we need to plan ahead will be the material. As I mentioned in the drawing phase, I'm going to, or drawing state that I use in the script is a wireframe, that's only the outline. And then in the tracking state, I'll use a constant of a particular color, and I make it semi-transparent, and remember to turn on blending in this case for the alpha usage. For the last one, there is also tracking, but it's get lost. I also use constant and semi-transparent one as well, but with different color. And depending on whether you would like to put text message that you want to overlay onto your rectangle, you can also put text message as a color map, so that can be done pretty easily by using text. So for this one is tracking, and then just pick up some standard font, and then so that is tracking, so the size will be okay. And then we might want to change the color, the font color. I want to have black one, and the background color is white, so otherwise there will just be a transparent. Okay, another one that is not tracking, I lost my objects in this case, so that tracking go to the yellow one, the loss go to the blue one. Okay, so now we have free texture, and then we can also use the switch to switch among them. I send it to a null material and use it for the material of this geometry. That's the rectangle. By default is the outline. So the selection of this one, so that one I put a null here, and also this one I also put a null, and that one is actually the position, and this one will be the state. That's the idle, tracking and loss, so that one will go to our switch. Okay, and then the last part we need to fill out is the geometry here. So similar to the last exercise, we now have the translate XY and also the scale in XY here. So we just fill up this one, the Y, the scale X and scale Y. this rectangle will overlay on top of our video. So that is more or less the completion of this simple project. So we are going to do tracking around here. So now as I move, I am being tracked by this tracker that use this as a selection. So if I have other graphics, hello, it should track this one again. And I try to see if I can demonstrate the loss so that one disappear. So that one you will see the loss in the tracking phase. So that is the third stage of the tracking program. Okay, and then for other animals that you can also use similar approach to do the tracking. So that is tracking again. So that is something that you can implement pretty easily. And that's one enhancement that I would like to plan for that is similar to what we have mentioned in the last tutorial video. So that is the selection here, that when you actually select something you want to track, you may want to remember what you select right here, because the object will be moving around. So in that case, you can remember that one by using the information here. Okay, and we are going to do the select. The first selection will be the pick first, which is the indicator whether we have selected anything, and then the second one will be the bounding box of the left, right, bottom and top, which we are going to use it to crop from our original information of the videos that we need to have cropped. And the crop information will be here. So we crop left with right, with bottom, and also top. So that one is not very visible around here, so actually I can't remember what location. So at this moment, because it's no selection, so that you don't see anything around, but I can just perform a selection again. So now you have this selection, but your target can move around in the course of the tracking. So how we can make sure that it will be there until you make changes? So the thing we have done in last week is by using a cache, and we turn off the active for the cache until we pause. So every time we pause, we keep a copy. So how we are going to pause is actually depends on the pick So on the pick, change from 0 to 1. That will be our logic. And our rising edge, when it changes from 0 to 1, and normally I need to put a null. Or I can call it freeze. To freeze this particular picture, which will be in the cache with this pick at the pulse. So now you can freeze this one when you make your selection. So there's no tracking now. Tracking, and supposingly your selection will be there always. So we may also have another enhancement. Okay. The enhancement is we can also overlay this one on top of your video. So that will be a little bit more crowded in the location. So I put a little bit more space here. Okay, and that one will be a corner pin. So I just want to pin this one onto the final composition, and that one I need to use the standard size. Yes, 12x0720. And then where I'm going to pin that you can decide by yourself, but if you want to do it very quickly, that you can just follow here to extract. I extract all of them, that means I don't need to customize here, and I only want to customize the pin location, so I use pixel for the calculation. And then what I need to do is to pin this one onto here, and that one comes from the size of this picture. And how to get the size of this picture? We use the info chart here, and then we just drop it here. It will show you the size 233 by 167, and then we can just choose the resolution X and Y. So that will be the size of your picture. And then if you want to, you can use a null, and then put this information into your corner pin. So if I want to put it with minimal effort, so the bottom left I keep it to here, but the bottom right I change it to the Y dimension, so the X dimension. So now it stays with the left hand side of the screen, and then for the Y dimension I put it on the bottom again. So in that case the bottom will stay with 0, but the top will be the Y dimension. So now your selected image will always be in the bottom left corner. So that's one approach. But if you want to make change, that you can do some arithmetic for calculating to put it in a nicer location. And then we are going to rearrange the composition, and that one will be the second layer. And then we have the final layer that will be our render. That's the rectangle. So in that case, we compose 3 layers. One is the background video, second is the selected region, and then the third one is the selected or tracking location indicated by the rectangle. So the result will be something like this. If I want to select myself, so that will be tracking around here. So the location over there will be my image. And then for another one, you can track it's pretty smooth. You can also replace by the third one for the tracking. And you can loss. So that is the step we would like to, whether we can pick it up. No. So that's the limitation of this tracker. And then that is probably the end of the demonstration. So I also put the project, but it's a product that you may need to pay for the final project file, but the video tutorial will be free in this case. And then as a quick revision, so we have done mainly this OpenCV Tracker. We can save the component. So the component is done by the script over here. Is define the input image 2 button for start tracking and reset the tracking. And then the tracking is basically done by one single command, the tracker update. And there's also another one called tracker initialization. Is using the tracker modes.create to initialize the instance. And then you initialize it with the original, that's the starting position of your graphics, and it start the tracking one in this case. And the result will be given to the 4 bounding box variable as well as status. And then finally will be visualization of your rectangle with 3 different material without a label. And then the final one is like enhance the usability by keeping track of the image you want to track in your tracker, and then finally visualize them all together. So that is what we have achieved in this particular exercise. So you can have more fun with this one. So until the next one, happy coding with TouchDesigner. Hope to see you very soon. Bye bye.